professionalinvestor.com's daily brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich.
All right, hello everybody. Bit of a late start. I get so distracted with these thumbnails. Hopefully you guys enjoy the thumbnail again today. I really have to make them earlier than day because I don't think about how long they're gonna take me to make. And these definitely take me longer than I think they will. So yeah, I did that, and then on top of that, I was looking for. I have this like stand that I use to hold my camera, but I brought it with me on my vacation I just got back from, and I can't find it. So I have to buy a new one. So right now I don't have any stand for my camera, so I couldn't stand it up. So no camera again. Sorry guys. But good to see everyone. I'm gonna make it a quick show today, 30 minutes. I think we can go through everything. If you don't even want to watch 30 minutes, you've gotten this far. If you don't want to watch 30 minutes and you're a TRI member, in about 12 to 16 hours, I will create a summary of the show, and then I'll post it in the Discord. You can see here, I do this now every week. AI is such a beautiful thing. Let me show you. I posted in the Julian Trades room. If you can see my screen, and I post something like this every week. So like here was the daily brief summary from April 4th with all the different markets laid out and everything I talked about. And then here's the next one, April 12th, last week. So you've got all the different names, obviously only for TRI subscribers. But if you are one, you get the quick access to basically the summary of where I see the market going. So last week target was 86K. Did we hit it for Bitcoin? Yes, we did. We hit 86K. So that was talked about on April 12th. No, sorry, Thursday. April 10th was my show right back here. And we came and hit 86K. Boom, target achieved. So I can, kind of toot my horn. And you can see how we've crossed over on the daily for Bitcoin. Officially looking bullish. And if you look at M2, we're actually not really going to get much of a move further from here until basically May. So we've got 2 weeks of ranging, assuming this M2 money supply thing holds true. We've got 2 more weeks of ranging before we break out higher. And you can see actually M2 continues to move higher with a current correlation. I didn't make this, by the way. Some guy called Colin Talks Crypto made this, so I want to give him credit. So I will give credit for that. But we can see if I try to line everything up, and we kind of scale it, which I don't think you really should with these type of things, but it's always fun to do it. Current M2 money supply printing points to, I can't fit everything on this chart, about 140. I would say about 145, 140K Bitcoin final price in August, assuming, but that's assuming this is the top. It could keep going, and maybe we get a higher one, and we hit it later. So let's say we take off in May. You've got June, July, August, beginning of August. So about 2.5 months of Bitcoin rally. And if we look at BTCD, by the way, BTCD is at 64%. Continues to move higher. We do have a 7 and 8 coming in. We've got a serious divergence building. So I am looking at building up on alt positions. I was long. I told you last week I was long on a bunch of alts. I've taken profits on a bunch of them. I mean, Solana, I was long from all the way down here. All the way down here I was buying. And I talked about this last week and told you guys I was buying. Right here, April 10th. This was my buy area. Right here, right? Talked about that, and we're now up here, 134. So I've taken quite a bit of profits. I would like to see one last pullback with everything down into, we will get into that. I'm going to get into more detail on that. I just wanted to go over a little bit of what we talked about last week with you guys. I can show the summary. So we talked about Solana, said potential reversal, stay above, below flush risk, but we ended up moving higher, so that was good. Same thing, I gave a 10-to-1 risk reward setup on SUI, 2.618 to 4.618 extension targets. So if we go to SUI, though that played out very well. So that was here. That was this trade. So you can see we didn't hit the final target, but we got very close. I did take profits up here, and then I took profits down again here. And I'm basically out of the position at this point. But we're going to look today to see if we should get back in. Maybe it's time to reload. That's going to depend on the S&P. The S&P drives all of this. But that was a great little SUI trade that yielded a very solid return. And you can see how these are kind of in a bottoming pattern. So I'll get into that. I just wanted to kind of go over last week, what happened, everything I saw, and how things kind of played out. So last week's altcoin summary was basically W patterns forming across 4-hour, 2-day, and the daily chart. Watch RSI structure before entries, and then targets, so on and so forth. You can see how basically everything was bull, and we should look for buys. Some of this other stuff was still in downtrend. We did have a TD9 on the weekly with Tesla. Obviously, that didn't play out that well. And you can see how S&P and bullish bias played out on Bitcoin and S&P. And we had high volatility. The volatility is coming down now. So let's look at the VIX really quick. Yeah, so we're at 30, and let's go to the daily. Meanwhile, last week when I was talking on the 10th, we were moving between 55 and 33 on the VIX, and now we've kind of stabilized. So don't expect the wild swings that we were having before. Audio sounds good, right? No issues? No complaints? Okay, so I said I was going to make this a fast show. Oh, we hit my 3.78 target. Look at that. This was I did a little trade this morning. I took profits right here before the show started. I just didn't want to have to think about my trade, but I bought a call down here, and then I used my chaos to give me my final target up here. And you can see we just hit that target. So boom, success there. But I closed up here at 3.59. That was enough for me right up here, 309. I just wanted to see it hit these previous levels. I thought it would go higher and stop people out over here, but I didn't want to stay in the trade when I'm doing this show. Plenty of profits, you know, just 2 SPX calls at, what was my, let me see 1 second. Wow, those are right now trading at $16 per. Where? Yeah, so 5325. I bought 0 DTE 5325 calls, and those did extremely well. So those at the bottom, what were those when let me see if I can go to the graph. Yeah, so those were only like $7 before. Let me see something. Yeah, but I bought them for about $8. I bought for 8 and sold for around 12. So not bad, about a 50% return. So pretty happy with that little trade there. I thought I would show you that. All right, let's get into. I said I was gonna make this a short show. I'm talking for too long. All right, let's look at what's going on here. This is a daily. Well, let's go to a weekly. I always start with weekly, right? 2-week actually. The 2-week still has broken down. We can't ignore the fact that this is not good. Okay. If we go to a weekly, we can see we do have a TD9 on the weekly. That is a very good sign. We want to see a TD9. I've talked about this in the past and how every time we've kind of had that, we've generally seen a significant bounce in the market. You can see here, Not really that many, more so you get them on the bear side. Right here, that's about it. But this TD9 is a good bull signal. And then on the daily chart, we've got this. Basically, we broke on the other side, and these are our levels. Assuming this is our W, this, actually the levels are a little bit different than they were before because we're consolidating in this zone. We might not extend that far before I had a bit of different levels. I believe it was, that's weird. Something must have been adjusted on this chart. I might have moved one of these lines by accident because it doesn't line up perfectly anymore. Let's just adjust them now. We go to 4 hour. This is how I have this W down here. You cannot see it on the daily. There it is. It all lines up perfectly. All right. So we tagged the 1.618, got rejected. Next level is here at 2.618, and final level is here at 4.618, right there, 6,645. Those are the levels. Now the question is, do we come down and retest before we move higher, or do we move higher from here? If we look at a 4 hour chart, to me this looks like it's consolidating and it wants to move higher eventually. But I don't see. Yeah, I'm a bit tired. Maybe because I was looking for my camera holder forever. Good to see you, Cutter. So on a daily chart, the bull bias continues. It looks like Mr. Market wants higher here. And if we do move higher, these are kind of the targets, right? 58,400. This is a 3 level, this is 3.59, and this is our final 4.618 target. But I don't see them taking off without at least retracing and stopping some people out. As long as we're below this trend heuristic channel, you can't be completely bullish, and we have to look for some stop runs. And I think the big question is, okay, well, where's the stop run? Well, usually a stop run will come down to the 786. So essentially here, this area is where you could look for a stop run. Somewhere along here. That's where you might want to load up to get long for the eventual move higher. And a big part of the reason I expect us to move higher is because of that M2 money supply. Countries around the world are printing massive amounts of money. I don't see why markets wouldn't move higher. Gold is already kind of shown that with its incredible move. Bitcoin also is making some moves here. Although again, in Bitcoin's case, I also want to see some kind of retrace to re-enter. If not, then I'll enter up here. Any kind of break above this heuristic trend line and confirmation on a daily chart, that's my go signal to really get long. And it does look like it wants to, but I can't pass up that we may get some kind of stop run here. There's going to be some kind of stop run. I just don't see it. It seems too easy to just move higher from here. I want to see some kind of stop run, scare people one more time before we move higher. But it does look pretty bullish. Let me just go for a little bit lower time frame. Yeah, 1 hour, nothing really here. Slight divergence seems to be building on the 1 hour chart. There were some significant puts. I saw on Twitter people posting about unusual whales and some massive puts being bought today and yesterday, which also could forecast the potential for a bit of a stop run. So I would like to see the market pull back to take us down to below 5,000. somewhere, anywhere in this area before we rocket higher. That's what I would like to see. I'd hate not to hit. Yeah. Well, that's why I'm thinking it could be max pain. I think a lot of people are still expecting that bear move. But this is a 9 on the weekly chart. I think the whole tariff thing is over. No. I think it's over. The only thing that could make this worse and nuke everything is if, China suddenly invades Taiwan. That's the only thing that I could see making all of this worse. I just don't see anything else that can make it worse. They keep coming out with things. Oh, China's not going to buy Boeing planes. The U.S. is going to raise China's tariff to 200%. China's going to stop purchasing something or another. All this stuff is noise. I think it's noise. And I think the market's just digesting this news. And for the next 2 weeks, we're going to do nothing. And then, as M2 suggests, we're going to just have liftoff after that. Just complete liftoff. By the way, I don't believe in this offset for the market. I think it matches with Bitcoin, the 180-day offset. It does match well with Bitcoin. But in the case of the regular markets, I don't think it's the case. I think it matches up a little bit differently, and we have to adjust the time frame. And that's why I would change it. I think I had it like 80 days or something. Let me see. No, that's too. Actually, it's not terrible. Something like that. Although I would want to push this back a bit. Hold on. Let's go to 50. Does that get me to where I want us to be? Nope, wrong direction. Let's go back to 100. I just want to line this up a little bit better. Okay. 90. And then again, don't put too much into this. I don't think it matches up perfectly, but something along these lines would make sense to me. Although it really doesn't match up well. It's not like Bitcoin, but this still says that. But if Bitcoin is saying it'll go up here at around sometime in the beginning of May, then I expect the market to follow, or at least Bitcoin to follow, and that's when so we can kind of adjust it to give us that, such that this is way too, because we're all the way out here for that liftoff period. Yeah, and the liftoff is nope. Why is it? I'm not sure why it's so different compared to Bitcoin. 60. Yeah, see, now that's too much. Oh, that's better. Okay. So that's a bit better. So as you can see, it just sits here for the next 2 weeks. Nothing happens. And I could see that happening with markets here. We just sit here. We let the VIX just dry up and go all the way down and fill this gap. We've got a gap here at 23. So we head all the way down to 23. And then markets can move higher and expand. But until then, we're not going to do that much. So don't expect a lot this month. Perhaps we get a bit of a dump down into these areas to like 5,000, 4,900, and then we get our big pump. That's what I'm seeing. So that's the S&P. Main message is don't get too excited. If you see a drop, watch on lower time frames for a reversal because we're likely going higher. With Bitcoin, kind of the same thing. On a daily chart, though, we have broken out. So this is a significant bullish signal for me. So both of these have broken out higher. And Bitcoin could move a lot higher from here. We basically have a W. I'm going to get rid of this M2. But this does say, the M2 does say we should get a pullback. But we're going to ignore that for now. And we're going to say that this has basically been the range, right, like that, from here to here. And the target for Bitcoin for 4.618 is basically 126 conservatively, and not conservatively, less conservative, I should say. We're at about 137. So those are the two levels and targets. I don't think you're going to do anything wrong by going long Bitcoin here. I think it's a decent buy. However, just keep in mind, Bitcoin likes to run stops before making big moves, and we've been consolidating for about a week. So be prepared that you might get some kind of move like that, and then you move up. That's what I could see happening. If we go back to before other previous, major Bitcoin moves, and we look at a daily chart like we are here, we can see that, say I take, what do I want to use? Say I use this one right here. So this was a fake out, and then you had another pullback before eventual move higher. So RSI is not perfect. Here's another one. Okay, breakout on the other side, right there. And in this case, we did just kind of take off and there was no pullback. But you did have to create that W, and you had this stop run here before eventual move higher. Same sort of thing here. You had a big move up and then a stop run before that huge move. So right here, you could say that you actually have a divergence. On the daily chart, you have divergence, right? So RSI is not making lower lows, but price did. And it seems like we have the go signal to move higher. But I would be surprised if we do without a little bit of a stop run. We might. This is one scenario, and this is your other scenario. It's just like that, straight up. And all the altcoins will basically follow. Although right now BTCD continues to move higher. We can look at a few. This is BTCD. 7 coming in, as I mentioned. Still in my uptrending channel. With the highest level around 65. So a lot more downside versus upside here. And that's why I am looking at accumulating altcoins. As I mentioned before, Sui looks great. A lot of upside potential here. This could potentially be your W area right here. And that's your range with the target at about 3.86 all the way up here. You could also look at this as a giant range here, like this. And your target could be 61.8, 3.98, and then 78.6. Just both ways, both things work. Could you please talk about TLT later? Yeah, I can look at TLT quickly. I'm going to look at the others index for crypto, and then I'll look at TLT, and then I think that's it. I'm going to call it. Because as Cotter said, I am kind of pretty tired. And I just think we're in a holding pattern. I'm thinking holding pattern plus slight bullish bias, and really that's all you guys need. I don't need to go into too much detail. I think the plan is pretty clear. And just watch from lower time frames for an entry to get long. Like I don't see a reason. The summary here is I don't see a reason to be bearish. There's zero reason to be bearish, and I only see upside. And I think you should be hunting those longs at this point. This is my ABCD up here. Doesn't look as good anymore. I don't like that we broke down on the others, but we are in, these two red lines are my buy zone. This is the exact buy zone I was looking for. We haven't really had a turnaround yet on the weekly chart. So, but you can see how the 3-day slowly building to the upside. And that could be all we get on alts. Maybe we just trace back to the previous highs from December 2024, and then that's it. Yeah, exactly, Andre. Maple bucks. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Views are really down. We used to get like 40 or 50 views. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe YouTube doesn't like my thumbnails. Maybe I should go back to the boring thumbnail. Or it's the fact that I start late. I'm really terrible at starting on time. Something always comes up. Always. Others looks decent. You do have an 8 coming in. So another case to be made for that potential pullback. If we could say this is the range right here. We only came back to the 50%. I'd like to see us go into this area, 61.8, 78.6 area. Before I go hyper bullish. But if not, I can always, buy a bit higher. Again, it depends on the S&P. We'll see if that happens. I think everything should follow, but maybe not. I gave you those two scenarios. Okay, so TLT. People are depressed because of market state. Yeah, maybe. It didn't even pull back that much. Like if you look at, alts got pretty destroyed, but if you look at other stuff, it's really not, it's not that bad. My portfolio personally was at all-time highs. Just here, right here on Wednesday, it was at all-time highs. Today, it's not. It pulled back a bit, and I have some long-term investments. So, but it was at all-time highs here, and I was beating the market by something like 15 or 20% in my stock account. So very happy about that. TLT on a weekly chart, it's kind of just stuck. I'm going to go to a monthly. I don't see anything here. It's stuck in this like bearish momentum series, but at the same time, very oversold and just sitting down here, while monthly is still kind of actually bullish. Monthly is bullish, but everything else RSI-wise looks bearish. And you're kind of just stuck in this range. I don't see anything with TLT right now. Just a range. Right? It's stuck in a range for me. Light in body and mind. I'm not sure what that means. Hello, Hector. Hope you're doing well. Reddit. Okay, I'll look at Reddit quickly. I'll take like a couple requests quick, and then I'm gonna call it because I'm tired and I don't know if I'm gonna give the best advice right now. You have a 9 TD9 here, not bad. Range tag 78.6, very nice. That's basically my, this is my buy zone even here sometimes. So you're in a long-term buy zone. So good location. First of all, good location. Looks like we're on the other side of the trend line. We are still in a downtrend technically. So you could get that move down to 60 potentially. This daily definitely hasn't crossed over bullish yet. I would be cautious of one more move lower. I can't. It's in a good location, but I need to see a little bit better structure here. I don't like how this daily looks on RSI. I don't think it's. I think you could get a little bit more of a pullback. You did fill this huge gap. Look, I think it's a fine area to dollar cost average. Fine area to dollar cost average, but something like options and stuff like that, I think you're gonna regret it. It's a bit early. Any news on XRP? I don't know. I don't pay attention to XRP. Just looks like any other coin. There's XRP. This is the potential ABCD move. If this is a consolidation, then your next move is a double to $4. So you could get a double. I think there are other coins that could make more, but you could get a double. It looks a lot like Bitcoin here. It's on the other side of the downtrend now, consolidating, getting ready for its next move higher. That's about it. You might get again, one of these two scenarios. You either get this, and then boop, or you just go to arrow ups, up arrows. One of those two. You're either going to get a dip and up, or you're going to go up from here. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it here. It's only been about 30 minutes, but as I said, I was going to do a short show. We went through the S&P, and it is pulling back a bit now, it looks like, on the lower time frames. So as I mentioned, I expect somewhat of a pullback to get people to freak out again before the big pump. Not too much movement in the next 2 weeks other than ranging. And then in May, I expect a big pump. And that includes in Bitcoin too. Bitcoin, I'm looking, this is my primary scenario with Bitcoin. Some kind of push down and then push up, or just a straight push up. But primary scenario is we pull down and stop people out first. Sui, I talked about it, Stingby, and I think it can do really well. And it's just everything's gonna follow this scenario. Like this is the scenario for everything. So you're either gonna go straight up from here, or we're getting a pullback and then up. And that applies to the S&P, Bitcoin, all your altcoins, basically everything. There's 1,000 names out there. Just watch these big things and trade everything else the same as that. It all kind of trades the same. It's not, I don't really believe in huge, I don't think diversification works that well. And I think that it's better to understand that in this age of automation and AI, everything kind of trades together, and you should, react accordingly and invest in what you think is going to do well, but make sure you're also investing in something when you're in a bull cycle. Okay, that's it. I think it's Easter, right? I think it's Easter. Market's not open tomorrow, so that also might be why there's nobody here. If you celebrate Easter, hope you have a great holiday with your families. Thankfully, egg prices are down. I know Trump talked about that a lot. And I will see you guys next week, hopefully on time. I'll post in the Discord a summary, and I'll be posting, as this develops. I'm not going to do anything with crypto over the weekend. I don't think much is going to happen. I would avoid trading. I would avoid trading any crypto this whole weekend. Just spend time with your family and enjoy it, and then come back Monday, because I think it'll just be stop runs and a mess, unless Trump says something or China invades Taiwan. So again, those are the only scenarios I see something extreme happening. All right, gonna sign off.